Welcome back, episode 5, the Two Casual MMA Podcast, the podcast for the casuals from Two Casuals. As always, I'm here with my good friend Kenny. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. We've delayed this one a bit of a busy week, but we're here. We made it.
It's all right, mate. Like we're not the John Anik of the world. We are human beings. We are just the everyday folk, and that's why we appeal to the casuals, because we are just fans at the end of the day. We just have everyday full-time jobs. The UFC is not the be all end all. Yeah, man. Like it's all good. What have you been doing in the last 10 days? Didn't you went to Perth?
Yeah, flew down to Perth. Just caught the last two fights of the fight night, so that was good. Just watched some Muay Thai and wakeboarding, so it was a good weekend.
No WWE Elimination Chamber for you?
I was down there that weekend, but I did not attend.
Was it wild?
Oh, not really. I wasn't really around that part. I was more it's like a bit north a bit, so yeah, I didn't really get amongst it.
I know a bloke who went to the WWE Elimination Chamber, and he's hyping it up like it's like it was UFC 284. Yeah. And I saw it on Instagram, and I'm like, it just looks dead to me.
After our experience at UFC 43 at Etihad, I don't think I'll ever go to another stadium show, whether it's UFC or
it's rubbish.
Yeah.
We should talk about that in a further podcast, like some of the events and stuff that we went to and what we thought was shit house and like whatnot. But I thought, mate, before we get started, you said hello to the one, the only, Mr. Bam Bam, Tai Tuivasa in Perth. You saw him.
Yeah. So I saw him there at Scarborough Beach, walked past and said, "G'day, mate, and good luck with your fight." So that was cool. Didn't want to bother him. He was with his family, with his kids. I wasn't going to bother him too much, but just said g'day to him.
I caught him when we were in Perth for UFC 284 at a cafe. I was sitting at the cafe at the coffee shop. I wasn't with you at the time.
Yeah.
But he walked past and we're like, "Ty!" Like put our hands up and waved, and he's like, "Boys." Like I reckon he's just a dude. Like
absolutely.
He's just a dude, man. Like he's pretty likable.
Yeah.
But yeah, he fights in a couple of weeks' time, which is pretty exciting. But mate, I want to start. I want to start the show. And the more I'm thinking about it, it's reliving a lot of trauma because I may not have ever been more devastated in a loss more than Alexander Volkanovski than the way he lost against Ilia Topuria. Mate, I was shattered for days. I'm good now, but now that I'm talking about it, it's like I got PTSD. Yep. What do you think, mate?
A week and a half out, and I'm still struggling to cope. It's rough. It's rough.
Gosh, man. Like, I think like I would have been okay if it went to a decision.
Yeah.
And Ilia like won, even if it was a dominant decision, like 49-46, like where it's just like clear, like Ilia's won the fight. Yeah, that's great. But just considering the brutality of the knockout, and then you go back another like couple of months, 4 months prior, and the brutality of the Islam knockout, 2 brutal knockouts in the span of 4 months for somebody who is seen as a hero, a Superman, untouchable. It really fucks with you, bro. Like it's wild. It does.
Absolutely. It was a clean, vicious knockout too. It was worse than the Islam one for me. It put him out cold straight away. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was tough, man. Like it was almost like the fight was going and then it just wasn't.
Yeah.
I think not even like a build up. It was done.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think I was speaking to other people about the fight. They saying that Volk wasn't Volk. He wasn't the usual Volk. He wasn't adjusting. He sort of looked like he had his game plan with those kicks and stuff, and he didn't really detour from that or didn't adjust. So I think he's still there. I think he can still beat Ilia with some adjustments, but yeah, it's a big loss.
I thought in regards to the fight, I thought the first round was very, very close. Like very close. I had Volk edging it, but I thought it was close. And then obviously round 2 came, and I thought Volk started to turn up the heat a little bit. But the thing that worried me, and it's hindsight's a beautiful thing because you can say like, oh, I had it picked, like all this stuff. But throughout the fight, when Volk was like, he'd go in and then he'd go back and he'd sort of like, he'd like get his head in that spot. I was like, his chin is there to be cleaned up here.
Yeah, those exchanges, he was backing out just directly back, and it was not looking good, and that's what got him to the fence, and that's how Ilia capitalized and got him on the fence and finished him.
Mate, it was utterly devastating.
It was.
I just think like he pre-Islam too, after he beat Yair Rodriguez, even like the loss against Islam in Perth, Volk was like seen as this guy who was just untouchable, indestructible. He would have been feeling that way too. Yep. But having said that, after the fight, I was so upset. I was fuming, and I was like, "That's it. He has to retire." I was just like, purely because 2 brutal knockouts in 4 months, like another one more big knockout. Like a lot of, I'm going back to rugby league here, NRL. Like a lot of footy players have retired from head knocks. So like Boyd Cordner, Wade Graham are like two players that spring to mind, and that's from getting like a head knock every 12 months.
Yeah,
Volk has had 2 brutal knockouts in 4 months, and I'm thinking, mate, is it actually worth fighting one more time? That was my initial thought. What were your initial thoughts? You were just like, jump back in there, son. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't like definitely not to retire. I don't think that's happening. He definitely he needs for sure like several months off, like not fight until at least the end of the year sometime. So I don't want to see him retire, no shot, but have some time off, mate. He's deserved it. He's been so active. So like I don't think anyone will blame him for having some time off after those 2 knockouts and his activity. So take some pointers from his mate Israel and just step back for a while and heal up.
I got a question for you, mate.
Yeah.
My question is, if Volk comes back, when he comes back, because he's not retiring.
Yeah.
Right? He comes back and he beats Ilia Topuria. What does that actually do for his legacy?
I think that's massive for his legacy.
Does it? Does it though?
It's a return. Like he returns and takes the title back. Like
but he's already the GOAT. He's already the GOAT featherweight.
I think that cements it like even further. I think that's an incredible story.
It is an incredible story, but
yeah,
I've got to think as well. Like I'm thinking, I'm trying to I'm sort of on the fence here because I'm like, I get it. Like he wants to avenge the loss, which every UFC fighter does. They all want to avenge the loss. But I'm thinking Volk's 36 or for 36 this year. He's already regarded as him and Jose are probably neck and neck as the GOAT featherweights, right?
Yeah.
He's an Australian icon now. No ifs or buts.
No.
He's probably top 10 all time. He's admired now from the UFC and the fans.
Yeah.
Initially, before the Max Holloway 3 fight, he was probably hated or disliked because he was ruining the blessed era.
Yeah.
And he's able to turn around and be like one of the most admirable champions in the history of the UFC. I just think like your legacy's cemented there. It's done.
Yeah, but how good would it be if he come back and takes it back? How good! It just adds to it.
Yeah, I know it. I know it would be.
Yeah,
I know, but I just think I just think as well. I want both sides. So I want him to retire, and I want him to fight again as well. I'm sort of in 2 minds, but I think like is the injuries and the head knocks and maybe the trauma that follows your career worth fighting one more time when your legacy is already set in stone? You already are a legend. Like, is it worth it?
I think I mean, he's touched on he needs to be fighting, he needs to be training, so I think he needs it as well. Like and he's got plenty of drive and like to get it back now. So I think he definitely stays with it. And
so tell me I'm a soft cock and just be done with
it. Yeah, move on. He's not retiring. He's a GOAT.
But mate, like as much as I hated it, I got to pay homage, mate. I got to pay homage to El Matador, Ilia Topuria, mate. That was as good as it gets.
It composed, like he didn't throw much in that first round. Alex threw a lot of kicks at him, and he stayed composed, put him on the fence, and one right hook. You don't really see right hooks.
No.
Puts him out cold.
We said prior to the fight, we said that like we were hating the fact that Ilia was talking that much shit leading up to it, and all that Instagram shit, and we were just hating it. But we also said, but what if it comes off? What if it pays? What if everything he said comes to fruition, right? I think that week, no matter what happens in his career now, is it's all time.
Yeah.
It's how he did it as well. It's all time.
He's getting ovations from 80,000 people in Madrid. Like, he's a
Unbelievable
superstar over there now.
The thing, I got to ask you a question, mate. Like, considering the win and considering his fight style to real casual fans, to like the true UFC fanatics, it's appealing. Like he appeals to them all.
Yeah,
right.
Just swings.
I've got to think, mate. Where is his ceiling regarding like stars in the UFC?
Mate, I think it could be pretty big. He's got it like you could get that whole European base behind him, similar to the Australian stars. They get a whole country behind them, similar to like probably not Conor level, but definitely he could be up there with Izzy and possibly even Ronda. Like eventually, he's got a huge fan base behind him. So I think his ceiling's pretty high.
That's a very big call, the Ronda thing. But at the same time, when you've got a whole country behind you, just considering just the ovation he got at that soccer game.
Yeah, he's got two countries.
And like, mate, like the UFC, like in regards to like worldwide, like the eyes on the sport.
Yeah,
it's only really come of age in the last few years, and for Ilia to go to that soccer game and get that admiration, and the UFC going back to Spain this year. If he can, I feel like if he can defend the title a few times, like maybe once or twice, I think sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I think that like looking at that featherweight division, it's only him and Bryce Mitchell that are under 30 years old. I think he can be featherweight champion for a long time, if depending on what Alex does. So I don't think he gets a double champ shot just yet, but that probably depends on his star power. He if he wants that, he probably can get that, but he could defend that title a fair few times in the featherweight division. There's not a lot of young guys in their rankings, and he can tear up in that featherweight division.
I'm not going to go into it in depth because we've got to move on here, but you missed a guy. I know a guy. Mr. Blessed, Max Holloway. That fight,
Max is getting up there as well.
Bro, seriously, like I watched a clip of Mr. Chow P. Sonnen, and he said the biggest winner at UFC 298 was Max Holloway.
Let's say Max has a good fight with Justin, but a good fight with Justin, you're getting clipped a lot. And then you got to fight Ilia, who's got hands like that, like Justin, and then Ilia. I don't know if Max has got a chin, but I don't know if Max can stay up like against those two guys back to back.
I think, mate, like honestly, how much bigger is Max if he pulls this upset off against Justin Gaethje?
Oh, that's huge. He probably is a BMF at the moment. Like he is a BMF, so it just suits him. It's awesome. It's huge.
I just think before we move on, the only thing that Max can probably do here to come out a loser is get absolutely smashed at UFC 300. If he puts
that's a possibility.
If he puts on a pretty decent performance, I don't think he really loses out that much. I think eventually he'll get a title shot against Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think getting smashed is a real possibility.
In a big years, mate. I'm starting to get really hyped about this fight. My God, but I'm going to move on. We got to move on, right? Look, there were some great things to come out of UFC 298, and we're going to touch on one more thing, and that was the performance of the Reaper.
The Reaper, how good! Looks so good. There was a little bit of a heart-stopping moment, but I think 90% of the fight he was on top and he looked great.
Mate, I'm going out on a limb and saying that whilst Rob is fighting, you need about 10 beers prior, because there's no person that makes me more terrified, even when he's winning the fight, more terrified than Rob. I get scared shitless every time. I'm always on the edge of my seat going, come on, hold on, mate. Like, come on. Even though he's dominating the entire fight, I'm still shitting myself.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I was shaking. Like I did have a couple of beers, but it still didn't help. I was on edge. I was shaking. I hated it. But we were screaming for a takedown in that last round just to
Oh
secure
my
that. And
God, bro.
he tried for it, but he didn't end up getting it. But yeah, it was just always on edge, and it showed again because he got hit with a spinning heel
Oh
kick.
my
Rob's
God, bro.
chin
That was.
is Rob's chin's back. Does he have a chin again? What?
Does
To
that
take
fight
that?
get finished if there's 20 more seconds?
I don't
I don't
think
know.
so. I don't think so. I
Rob
think
didn't look too bad.
He was wobbled, but he was in that exchange. He was still slipping shots and countering. So I don't think it finishes if that happens 2 minutes earlier.
Mate, what I loved about his performance was he backed up everything he said, and he looked like a man that was desperate for a win. And I love that about Rob, because sometimes you can probably judge him a little bit for just being a bit too bop, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Rush in, bop, get out of the way. But he attacked Paulo Costa like a fucking rabid dog. He was he went, let's go, like, and just kept charging forward. That was the best Rob I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, he looked really good. How good's Costa's chin also, by the way?
Oh my God, mate. He is one of the most
shots.
durable dudes. He is so durable. We said that again. We said that. PS. Some of our tips went up to shit because, like, in the preview, out of 4, I just want to let all the listeners and viewers know I tipped 1 out of 4. Outstanding. You tipped 2, so that's good.
2. Yeah, 50%. I'm happy with that. Multis didn't go. The multis didn't go well. So,
but in all honesty, mate, like I'm pretty confident that Rob TKOs plenty of people in that middleweight division. I think Costa is just one of those blokes that just gets hit and just keeps coming. He is as durable. He is legitimately as dangerous a fighter as Rob could face in the middleweight division because of his power and because of his durability. So the fights coming up next for Rob that we think are probably in the pipeline, you'd have to think that Sean Strickland is next. You have to. It makes all the sense in the world. So the 3 guys above him, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Dricus du Plessis, those 3 fighters, as crazy as this is, I think Paulo Costa is a scarier matchup for Rob than all of those 3. Call me nuts.
I call you a little bit nuts because Dricus did finish Rob. So
that's right. But I don't think. I think that was classic Reaper, and I just don't think Dricus has the power that Costa does. I think Dricus is definitely durable. He's proven how durable he is, and the scary thing about Dricus too is the threat of the takedown. But I got to applaud Paulo Costa just for his durability, mate. He's an absolute savage.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He can't. No one can get him out of there. Yoel couldn't. Only Izzy, I guess. But yeah. So you reckon that's the next fight for Rob Strickland?
I think that's the only fight, mate. I think that's the one that makes sense because I think DDP and Izzy are next, and they're champion and number 1. Sean and Rob 2 and 3. And I think it makes sense and I love that matchup for Rob. As Sean's probably purely a boxer, but I think if Rob mixes up his game, I just don't see how Sean wins.
And Sean loves walking forward, which is perfect for Rob too. So
yeah, and again, mate, one last thing I want to touch on with this Rob Whittaker Paulo Costa fight was people up in arms saying like, how did one judge call it 30-27? I had the fight 30-27 but besides that head kick, what other moment did Costa have in that fight? None.
I suppose the first round was close, and maybe that head kick edges it towards Costa, but I still think it was Rob's fight either way. Even if they give round 1 to Costa, Rob dominated 2 and 3. Like, didn't do anything. Yeah,
because I saw on the YouTube channel Freestyle Bender. You're a big fan, obviously.
Yeah, mate.
But Freestyle Bender, he's kicking back. He's kicking back in the lounge. And when they announced that 2 judges gave it 29-28, he was shocked that Rob got the win. And I was just like, how is that possible that anybody on planet Earth gave that fight to Paulo Costa. I think. Did you like?
It wasn't
did
like,
you have,
he didn't walk away with it, but I think it was still a pretty convincing win for Rob. I don't know how people score it for Costa.
Bro, the only people that scored at 29-28 for Paulo Costa are people that had blindfolds on getting kinky in amongst the fight because they didn't actually see it. 29-20, stop it. Rob won 95% of that fight.
Yeah, it was just that spinning heel kick that got us all scared.
But I'm excited, mate, because I think, Robin Strickland next, and it could be in Australia, but we'll wait and see because there's another fight that's been booked, and I'd love to talk about it, mate, and we've been talking about it for weeks, but the UFC 300 main event, finally got announced, and honestly, out of 10, now this isn't, honestly, how excited are you for the light heavyweight title fight between Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill?
Well, I'll tell you this: my socks were not blown off, so it's still a really good fight. But my socks stayed on my feet. Nina lied about my socks being blown off.
So when I look at the card, the UFC 300 card, it's a fantastic card.
Unbelievable.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's a great card. It's amazing. But when you get promised all these things, right? It's the same as like. This is a bit of a different analogy, right? But it's let's say if you're a big Weet-Bix fanatic, so right, massive Weet-Bix fanatic, your parents say, listen, like for Christmas, all you want is 20 boxes of Weet-Bix. That's all you want. 20 sanitarium Weet-Bix. I want 20 boxes. And you're just hanging for the 20 boxes and they're like, yep, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. And then turn up Christmas Day and you get the no frills wheat biscuits. You are. It's still a wheat biscuit, but it's not the same. It does not hit the same.
Yeah. You
know, I
understand.
Oh, like if you look at the fighters, it's a great fight, and I love AP. I'm a massive AP. I know you are as well. I'm a massive AP fan, and Jamal Hill's it's a great fight because Jamal Hill's an exciting fighter. It's going to be a sick one. But to headline UFC 300 after Dana's thrown out all these things saying
teasing us,
you're going to get blown away. You guys won't be able to handle this. We tell you what, Dana, I was able to handle that and then some with that announcement. When I found out the news, it popped up on our little chat. It said like Pereira versus Hill main event, and I thought it was a G-up. I was like, I actually thought it was a G-up, and then I saw it on Instagram, and I went, hang on, this is not a G-up. I was like, that's the main event. Wow, crazy.
It had to be their last resort, right? Because I'm pretty Hill was saying that he only got offered the fight that week. So
that's shocking, mate.
Had to be their last resort. Everything else must have fell through. Obviously, I think Izzy has said that he accepted the fight against TDP at 300. Obviously, that would have been a bigger fight, but yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't as they built it to be.
We'll touch on this also a little bit later, but there is definitely something in the works between in the waters with Dana and Connor, because they could have got that shit done, and that didn't happen. What do you think of?
Go on.
Yeah. All right, you go.
Oh, I think there has to be more to it than just Dana and Connor. I think the new TKO group probably has something to do with it as well. Like, there's definitely a bit going on there, I reckon.
We'll touch on it, but what do you think about Leon Edwards getting offered? Now, there's two parts to this question. What do you think about Leon Edwards getting offered these three fights? So he got offered Islam, Shavkat, Hamzat. Not one of them said yes, apparently. I don't know if I believe all of that, but is what it is. And then what about Bilal? Didn't even get offered the fight.
I good on Leon for accepting all them fights, but I feel like it's a bit of a piss take from Dana. He's offering all these guys that are in Ramadan he wants them to fight.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Even if it was, even Bilal as well probably would have turned it down. So it's kind of good on Leon, but that's it. I think that's just a bit of a G up, to say that Leon accepted all these fights against guys that
I don't believe it.
Weren't willing to fight, but they've all been public about not wanting to fight during Ramadan, rightly so. So
yeah. Do you buy it, mate? I don't buy it.
I do buy it, but I think I don't think those fights were offered to Leon to the other guys. I don't think Leon was offered to the other guys. I think they've been pretty clear that they're not fighting. So Danis is throwing names at Leon, and Leon's like, let's do it. But these other guys have no idea.
Do you know what would have been a great UFC 300 main event?
What would have been?
Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal.
I
know that the fight itself might not have been great, but that build up, they would have played that 3-piece and a soda shit, the backstage fight.
Yeah.
The press. Wait, I don't care if the fight goes for 10 seconds. The presser would have been sick.
It would have
been awesome. But yeah, in regards to how excited I am for AP and Jamal Hill right now at this moment, just the fight itself, I would say an 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah.
But in regards to like UFC 300, at the time when I heard it, honestly, it was about a 4. I was like, that just really bombed hard for me. I would have rathered they change it and put Justin Gage and Max Holloway as the main event, because that is the people's main event.
It is the people's main event, the BMF. That's what they should change it to. Get The Rock there.
Because
the Rock already put the title on Jorge, the people's champ. I don't think Jorge was people's champ though. But let's put that disappointment behind us. 300 is a sick card. Let's get hyped for it. Hopefully,
the best part
stays healthy, and we get all those.
The best part is now, mate. I promise any of our listeners, any of our viewers, this is the last time you're going to hear about the UFC 300 main event until fight week. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I'm sick of complaining. No more complaining.
In the bin. I'm over it. I'm dead set over it. But mate, we're moving on. I'll tell you what I'm not over. The weekend that was. Now, look, we can talk about Brendan Royval and Brandon Moreno and the split decision. Actually, mate, you know what? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? Do you think it was fair?
Yeah, I think it's fine. If close fights like that, Brendan Moreno, he didn't look like his usual self. He was just spamming overhands and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not sure. What his game plan was there, but it's a close fight. It can go either way. Like no qualms about that. Went to Royval. I like Royval, so go Brendan.
What do you think about Royval getting on the mic and just spitting fire? Because he's such a humble dude. Like, honestly, he's such a nice guy, and he was just spitting it. I was loving it.
I was at the pub. I didn't hear it. I have not seen it.
So he pretty well called Pantoja out, and he's like, let's fucking go again, blah blah blah. Like he's like full on at it, and I was like, well, you know what? I was like, I like it.
Pantoja didn't just school him, didn't he?
He did, mate. He just, but Pantoja was there in the audience, and I don't mind the call out.
Yeah, you got to take those opportunities, but yeah, I don't think that fight changes at all.
No, I don't either, mate. I think Pantoja's the flyweight champ for a very, very long time, mate.
You still there?
But this is the thing. The main event was good, but the highlight of the night, mate, I was blown away by Brian Ortega. I was honestly blown away.
What a comeback,
mate! It was unbelievable. It was a great win, and I'm not even underselling that. That win was great.
Rolls his ankle about 2 seconds before he was meant to fight.
Oh my god!
And then gets schooled in the first round, gets dropped. I don't know how he survived that, and then comes back and gets to win, gets to finish. Unbelievable.
Well, mate, we've just known, like, in the history of the UFC, like in the past, 5 years, if you take time off and you come back, I don't care how good you've been, I don't care who you're up against, I'm always going to back the fighter that's been active.
Yeah. Ring rust is real, unless you're John.
You know what I mean? I'm always going to back the fighter that's active, and Yair's no slouch.
No.
So I'm always going to. I was 90% confident that Yair was going to win. So if anybody's listening to this and they want to win some money, don't listen to what I say, because holy shit.
Hey, man, I think that's
why I love it so much.
Especially in the first round. I think we all thought it was over.
So for him to roll his ankle, get absolutely busted, and then rally back to not only because the first round could have been a 10-8. So that means that Ortega would have to make up 2 rounds.
Yeah. And
just to get level, right? Just get level? No, he would have made up 2 rounds. But anyway.
Yeah.
But round 2 was T-Cities as well.
Yep.
And that sub, my God, that was as brutal and as violent and as beautiful as I've seen in a long time. And I just think for somebody to be out for as long as he has, to suffer the setbacks that he has, to come back against a quality opponent, like the top tier, because so many people have said, I've checked all the comments, and they've said, Brian Ortega, top 5 featherweight. What a load of bullshit. And fair enough. Being out for as long as you have, you probably shouldn't have that top 5 ranking.
Yeah.
But holy shit, did T-City prove, damn it, I'm one of the best featherweights in the world still.
He is. Does he get the next title shot?
It's interesting, mate, because I personally, I like a fight against Josh Emmett for Brian Ortega.
Okay.
Just because Josh had a great win against Bryce Mitchell, and it's still in the back of people's minds. Like it doesn't matter that Josh got hammered by Ilia, because he came back and delivered like a highlight reel finish. That was like one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen in my life. I'm getting headaches thinking about it. Right?
That was unbelievable. Yeah.
So because Josh is coming off such a big, exciting highlight reel win, I think he could probably get that fight against Brian Ortega. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So what, Max and Ilia in Madrid?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Volk needs to take 12 months.
Yeah.
I think no less.
Yeah.
I think and Ilia has to defend against somebody. Now
this
is going back.
It could be the guy. I think they could give it to him.
Mate, what about? Here's another one. We're going back to the start here, but I like it. It brings up more conversation.
Yeah.
I know another guy who I think it could be. Now, with a win at UFC 299, could it possibly be Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Ilia Topuria in Spain?
I think you're onto something there, because I don't think Sugar is interested in defending his title against Merab. So he definitely wants a big fight before he has to do that, or before he leaves bantamweight. So I think that could be the fight.
Speaking of UFC 298, back again, mate. Sean, if you get this win against Cheeto, do yourself a favor and just vacate that title, mate, because Merab's coming.
I think he holds on to it and tries to get that Ilia fight, but he definitely doesn't fight Merab.
Mate, Merab is coming. Mate, he is
just doesn't stop.
Freak of freaks. I love that guy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He's a freak of freaks, mate. But I think with T-City, you're right, mate. Like he is a big enough name in the featherweight division, and it's a great story as well, because he's been out for so long and he's had this stupidly good win, like stupidly good.
Yeah,
he's been nothing but like, I think like the character change a little bit in T-City, because I've noticed like throughout the week he's a lot more humble. He said like, I'm an Eagle now. Like I've been, I've really found myself and doing this. Like it's that I feel like that all plays like those character arcs in building
absolutely
a fight and a story, and something like UFC Spain. It'd be big. I think there is a chance that T-City could get that title shot, but I think if Alexander Volkanovski is not fighting in Spain, I think they have to give it to Blessed.
I think that we'll see. I think that depends on what happens at 3.
Let's go, Blessed. Let's go. Come on. Like that's the brilliant thing about this sport, mate, because pretty well I had the door shut on 2 of my all-time faves, the Reaper and Blessed. Love them both to death. Absolutely love them. But I was like, there is no way that they're winning the title. There is no way they get back to the title picture. And here we are.
The door's open.
All of a sudden I'm going, kick that door in, boys. This is yours for the taking.
They both could be champion again by the end of the year.
Let's go. Because like nothing would make me, no joke, nothing in the UFC would make me more happy than seeing Robert Whittaker and Max Holloway both as UFC champions, because they're 2 of the best blokes, man, in the UFC as well. Like it would just be such a great story for them both to come back, because they're in similar positions. They were the main gatekeepers to their division, and like they're both Hall of Famers, which makes the story that much greater. Everybody like almost wrote them off, and now all of a sudden, if they were able to turn around and get the belts back,
After such a long period of time not being champs. That's so good,
bro.
And we
what
need
a story.
it. Australia and New Zealand need another champ. We haven't not had a champ since 2017. Now we don't have a champ.
It's a bit of a shit time, mate, right now.
Yeah.
'Cause we had a golden run
We did
for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's our time just to wait it out a little bit. But I think both Volk, I think Izzy, I think Rob, they have legitimate like title runs in front of them. I think.
Yeah.
So I still think we're in good hands. I still think we could get a great fight at a great main event in Australia.
Then you have Jack Della.
Shout out, mate. Shout out JDM. Big fight against Gilbert Burns. It's a monster fight. And we'll touch on that in a couple of weeks as well. Probably next week. UFC 299. That's again one of the most wild cards. But mate, speaking of wild, Brian Ortega's win, it got us thinking. It got us thinking about the toughest cunts in the UFC today. Like I'm talking there are plenty of them. Plenty of pretty the toughest.
All of them are pretty tough.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Just to be in there.
Good. Now every UFC fighter on the roster, when I don't name him, is coming after me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just don't give out my address, please. But like, obviously, they're all tough. But like, I'm talking like the creme de la creme of toughness. The ones that defy tough. Like they defy the odds of they're going to tap or they're going to quit, and they just don't. Like you're just like, my goodness. But we're going to do our top 5 now. Last time we did a countdown, we did 5 each, but we have thought about this, and we've come with our own combined top 5-1, the current roster, the top 5 toughest cunts in the UFC. But we have some honorable mentions. Kenny, you have 3, mate.
I have 3.
Take it away.
I have Jessica Andrade, Marvin Vettori, and Luke. I think they're always fighting. They're always in scraps. There's always entertaining to watch. I think they're honorable mentions. They're tough fighters.
Marvin won me over, mate. Marvin won me over in that fight against Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
Where he was copping so many strikes and he just kept coming. He was eating it, and he was like, come on, like that. That's it.
I'm pretty sure he ate a couple of Rob's head kicks in their fight. He's
a dog, mate.
Yeah,
he's a dog. He's the dog of dogs. I want to give.
What are yours,
mate? You know how I had 3. I've got 4.
Oh.
and it's a little funny because I thought of him just now. You get a laugh out of this. Shout out Chris Mutinino. Do you remember him?
Oh yeah.
He fought Sugar Shorto
and just got battered. Yeah,
he's the dog of dogs.
Suppose.
He got hit 1,100 times in the fight. It kept coming. It was unbelievable.
It was.
I actually don't know who wins a fight to the death between Sugar or Chris. My God. Shout out to you, my friend.
Homer Simpson's strategy.
But my three honorable mentions. Mackenzie Dern, tough.
Yeah.
She is tough. Pantoja, tough.
Yeah.
And I got Dustin Poirier, mate.
You got Dustin in there.
As much as I've
hurt.
Look, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm not the biggest Dustin fan. I'm sorry. Something about him it just doesn't sit well with me. But I can acknowledge toughness and I can acknowledge greatness. You don't have to like everybody. That's the truth of it. You don't have to like everybody. But man, he's a dog.
He is.
An absolute dog, man. He has been in some absolute wars, like his fight with Dan Hooker, his fight with Michael Chandler, his first fight with Justin Gagey, his fight with Max Holt. Like, you name it. He's taken stupid amounts of punishment. Eddie Alvarez, he's taken dumb amounts of punishment, and he keeps coming. He's an absolute dog.
Absolutely is. Right,
but mate,
get into the top 5.
He's not as much of a dog as these 5 people.
Doesn't make the top 5.
He's not, mate. Mate, I'm going to let you take it away. Coming in at number 5,
we have Justin Gaethje, the BMX.
Woo, what a great start, man! Top 5. It would not be a top 5 toughest without the human highlight reel.
Justin dishes out a lot, but he also takes a lot of shots, and he stays there, and he doesn't move, and he's just. I think he mentioned he is Mexican, so maybe that plays a part. But yeah, he's a tough son of a bitch.
He's a tough man, mate. And honestly, the biggest highlight, lol, how good was that little pun? But one of the biggest highlights in regards to him showing how tough he was I'm going to throw it back to his first UFC fight against Michael Johnson.
Yeah, he was rocked, nearly done, nearly out of there.
He was dead
Yeah.
in that first round. And again, like Michael Johnson is, at one point, he was a top 5 lightweight.
Yeah.
Top 5, right? But Justin was absolutely rocked. He was getting pulverized at points in that first round. Obviously, Justin's never pulverized. He's going to keep coming and keep throwing them.
Yeah.
But he was getting cracked. He was wobbled. He was doing the chicken dance, as Conor McGregor would say. But he came back. He rallied. Even in round 2, he was getting pumped at points.
Yeah.
And he rallied back and did just the classic Justin Gaethje win.
In his UFC debut to do that as well. Like, it was, that was a great fight.
And against a top 5 lightweight as well.
Yeah. Tough
but
son of a bitch.
There's been plenty of highlights. Even he's lost to Dustin, also showcased how tough he is. The win against Michael Chandler, stupid. Rafael Vazeev, that was a tough fight, bro. Like, Vazeev did not get enough props for the punishment that he gave to Justin Gaethje as well. That motherfucker hits hard, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And for Justin to rally, it just showed there's just no top 5 countdown here without him.
You can't. Yeah, you have to include him. You can't not put him in there.
But mate, we will and ahhing here. So about the next one. So we've got a tie for third because we'll and ah and we'll go third, fourth. One of us said this guy's third. The other one was saying this guy's third. And I'm going to start this because it hurts me because I was on this guy's side because. Once Kenny talks about it, you'll understand. But I'm going to say I got it in my equal third spot. We're talking about him just before. T-City. Brian Ortega. My Lord, that man, he is a gangster, mate. He is an absolute G. I don't care what you think or what you say about him. You have to respect his toughness.
Absolutely. That Max Holloway fight, he took that was brutal as unbelievable. He did get finally got the doctor had to stop that fight. That was unbelievable.
Legitimately, mate, I think that T-City, if Max was continuing that, T-City would have gone for another 5 rounds.
If he didn't die, I guess.
Honestly, mate, he's as tough as nails, mate. And in the Alexander Volkanovski fight too, he was getting pieced.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. And he again showed that he has a heart. He's got the heart of a lion, mate. He's just there's something different about these guys. They're just different. Obviously everybody's tough, but Brian Ortega, there's just something really different about some of these people. And you the next 3, you'll know, there's something a bit loopy with some of these people, but I want to also touch on as well the weekend, the win against Yair Rodriguez, that also solidified for me just how tough he is because he's had really big shoulder surgery. He rolled his ankle, he had to rally back again. A lot of people would have mentally checked out there after all of that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh shit, I've had a couple of years off against a top 3 featherweight. I've rolled my ankle. I've been smashed in the first round, but he just stayed with it. And only a certain amount of people can do that, which is why I'm just, it feels like I am pretty well taken Brian Ortega in the bedroom right now, but he deserves it. Loving TC at the moment. I think he deserves all the flowers.
That's fair, mate. That's fair. Well, my number 3, my number 3 is blessed. Your boy, Max Holloway. Although Max has some crazy stat that he has the most significant strikes landed by a long shot. I'm pretty sure he also is number 1 for most strikes absorbed.
Whoa.
So he's there the entire time, swinging and landing shots and getting hit. Doesn't move. We've seen him fight. He's a tough boy,
mate. I'm not the thing that springs to mind for me, and this is a little bit, this isn't about how much damage he got absorbed and stuff, but the Ricardo Lamas ending, it springs to mind for toughness. I just love that. Just stood there and just pointing, let's go.
Yeah. Credit to Ricardo as well. You need 2 people to do that. So Max gets a lot of credit for that, but you have to give credit to Ricardo Lamas on that as well, because not a lot of people stand there and do that.
Also, do you remember when he did it against Arnold Allen as well?
Yeah.
They in the last 20 seconds, I was like, Max went like this again. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if he did this, but they swung for the hills.
Yeah.
But Max is one of those blokes. The stat of the fact that he's never been knocked down like that, and after some of the wars he has been in,
yeah, he's never been knocked down with the amount of shots he's absorbed is outrageous. Like, unbelievable.
like everybody talks about Nate Diaz's chin, mate. Max Holloway's chin.
Yeah, but Nate's been knocked down.
iconic.
Nate's been knocked down and such. Not Max.
Max is a savage, mate. He absolutely deserves a spot in this top 5, and I'm looking forward to seeing that savagery
300.
at UFC 300. 2 of the top 5 are in this, mate. It's going to be an all-time fight, and I'm plugging the shit out of it, and I don't even care because I'm hyped to the max. But, mate, we got our top 2, and I'm gonna introduce number 2, mate. He is. When I was talking just before about there's just something different. There's just something different up here. They're a bit loopy and they're a bit nuts. Well, the next 2 blokes are as loopy and as nuts as they possibly can get.
Yeah.
And at number 2, I've got the Hangman, Dan Hooker. My God, that man is an absolute raving lunatic, and there's so much evidence to back that shit up.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He deserves that number 2 spot because he's a madman.
Mate, there are so many instances that I can talk about, but the time that I really opened my eyes and I just went, whoa, this guy is a different level of savage was the beating he took to Edson Barboza.
Oh, yes, that was difficult to watch.
God. Man, and then he ended up getting kicked in the solar plex?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he got kicked a lot in the body, a lot of body kicks.
He was getting fucking smashed. Edson was just kicking the shit out of him, and Dan just went, "Nah, I'm still here."
He stayed up for as long as he could.
Let's go. I'm still here.
And then a few fights later, that Paul Felder fight in New Zealand.
Oh my gosh, man, that's another one. That was
absolute savage fight,
mate. You're forgetting the 2 recents. The Dustin Poirier fight is, mate.
Nearly
honestly,
had it. That was after the Paul Felder fight. Nearly had that fight.
If that fight, I'm going to ask you a question. If that fight was in front of fans, where does that rank in all-time fights? Is it top 10?
Maybe. I mean, the fans play a part, right? Because you know, the crowd would be going nuts, but also you can hear the shots and make the shots made so much worse.
I was just about to say,
when there's no crowd, it seems so much more brutal. And I think it's still probably in the top 10 fights of all time. It could be easy.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. That second round might be the greatest round I've ever seen. That oh my God, that was unbelievable, mate. And I was actually watching something today. I watch a shitload of UFC footage, but I was watching a short, and Izzy was talking about Dan, and he's like, he's a psychopath. And he said, like, in his debut in UFC Auckland, like, the guy was similar to that guy, the guy that Dan Hooker fought, that Claudio, I think it was, the guy that was like really like good at the leg locks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a guy that was similar at UFC Auckland, and Dan walked into it, and he's just like, and he said, like, Izzy says, you know, like, you know, Dan just said, you know, if he's going to break my leg, oh, all right, like, that's okay. Like, just like nothing. Okay, cool. Like, he's going to break my leg. Like, that's okay. I'll just let him break it. Like, that just takes that takes like a guy that truly has his screws loose, and there's not much that has showcased just how much screws that Dan Hooker is missing than the fight against Jalen Turner, mate.
Yeah, that head kick that he just ate. How do you eat a head kick like that?
Like, because he's superhuman, mate.
Yeah.
He's just next level savage, mate. He is next level lunatic. And then the classic line when he had the broken arm, he goes, just a scratch.
Yeah. Lunatic, full on.
And he went on to win the fight, mate. But he absolutely deserves a silver medal, mate, in regards to the toughest people in UFC. He is just on another planet, that bloke. And I love him to bits, mate. I think he's just a legend.
I think a silver medal to our number one is pretty fair.
Yeah.
Our number one.
Hit it, mate.
The man that will never retire. Lost 7 in a row now?
Yeah, I think 7 or 8. Yeah,
Tony
El
Ferguson,
Cucuy.
bloke
Mate,
doesn't stop. Like, what has it got to take for
none
this guy
tougher.
to not fight?
No, there's none, mate. There's none tougher.
Nah.
Look, I don't know about tough, but there's none crazier. He is.
I think
He's just on another. He's on another planet, Tony.
Yeah.
But like the thing that I'm thinking about things that always spring to mind. Like Tony has showcased how tough he is, and he's been in some fucking wars, mate. Like the bloody, disgusting wars, and that's enough to go. He's one of the toughest sons of bitches I've ever seen in my entire life. But what topped it for me is that the thing 99.99% of people would have tapped out to that Charles Oliveira submission attempt. Not Tony. That's all right.
The armbar, wasn't it?
Mate, that was, and you could see how much pain he was in. For about 10 seconds, he's like just wincing.
Still didn't tap.
And he just still didn't tap.
I like if anybody dies in the UFC, I think Tony's probably the favorite. It's unbelievable,
especially now that he's lost 8 in a row. But mate, like even prior to that, he just doesn't. There's no quit in that guy. He just does not want to stop.
I think there's no quit in his mind, but I think there's plenty like he can't keep up. But his body is slowing down, I guess. So,
but you'd have to think, mate. I've got a question for you regarding Tony. Do you think, and again, probably another fight that probably showcased just how tough he is was the Justin Gaethje loss. Do you think that was career altering?
Absolutely. I think any fight like that's career altering. Tony was amongst that fight in the early rounds, but I think those shots and him like when he was like brushing away like whatever it was that's definitely career altering. I mean he hasn't won since, so yeah, that's for sure is.
Do you think if he had maybe like a 3-round in that time, if he had a 3-round fight with somebody, let's say an up and coming Islam Makhachev in that time, right? Let's say he fights Islam, and Islam's not going to put too much damage on Tony. Do you think it's career altering if he loses to Islam then, or do you think he just because he took that badly a savage of a beating that altered it?
I mean, he's only fought like really good people, so possibly it changes, but. Yeah, I think he might pick up some wins, maybe against Chandler, maybe against Paddy, but yeah, I think his career's been on that trajectory for a while. Like even on his wins, when he was winning, he was getting dropped a lot. He was coming back and winning those fights, but he was still taking big shots and getting dropped a fair bit in pretty much every fight. I think he got dropped in the first round and then somehow come back and win.
He's unbelievable, mate. Regardless of whether he goes on a 15-fight losing streak, I don't care. Tony is an absolute living legend.
The toughest.
Many reasons, being one of the toughest sons of bitches ever, but also being one of the most skilled lightweights I've ever seen.
You can't deny his run. Can't deny that run, and he'll be, half of one of the biggest fights we'll never get to see.
Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah. I definitely think his legacy is going to live on forever, regardless.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just because how much of a lunatic he is, but I wouldn't want to run into any of those 5 blokes in a bar because, regardless if I have a pool cue, if I have a stool, if I have a glass, I still feel like I'm going to get smashed.
I wouldn't mind running into like the first 4, and have a beer with them, but maybe not Tony.
No, I'm talking about attacking them in the bar.
Oh, I was just having a beer. I was sort of having a beer with them.
No. If I've got weapons, like if I've got a pool cue, a broken glass, anything, these blokes are going to keep coming. I'm still not loving life.
No, I don't think you're stopping them with the pool cue.
They are some tough sons of bitches, mate. Yeah. But you are correct. I would absolutely love to have a beer with all of them, even including Tony, because it'd be a pretty whacked 10 to 15 minutes, I think. Yeah. But it is what it is, mate. Yeah, but I want to wrap things up here, mate. I want to finish with something. Now, like throughout the week, I saw at the PFL, I saw Francis Ngannou, John Jones at the PFL. Now, I understand that John's contracted to the UFC, but what the hell are you doing at the PFL?
He's having a good time. He's watching fights. He's allowed to enjoy some fights outside of the UFC.
Well, it made me think. Right? It made me think about why the hell Conor wasn't on UFC 300. Why the hell hasn't Conor and Chandler been booked? Why the hell has Dana said it might happen in fall? Why the hell is this happening? Can you please tell me why?
I think Conor's a bit too big for the UFC's liking. I think the UFC want to be the main attraction. I don't think they want stars like Conor anymore. They want what they have now. They want the UFC to be the show. You know, like when they booked Sydney, they sold out Sydney before there was even a main event. The UFC is the show. I don't think they don't want multiple Conors. I think they're having trouble with one Conor. So I think it's all about keeping the UFC on top.
Do you think though? I kind of think now that even if Conor was back and was returning, I don't think he's bigger than the sport anymore.
I don't think so either. I think it's still huge, but yeah, it's like it's tough because he probably is, but because he still do record numbers, he might do record numbers, like still do record numbers. So he might be still bigger than the sport, but I think the UFC are aware of that and they want to be the main attraction.
Well, the reason why I made it got me thinking was because, you know, as you said, you feel like the UFC wants to be the main attraction. Now, it got me thinking because it got me thinking about, you know, the star power that the UFC like can have. But is there a limit to how much star power somebody can have in the UFC these days? Because we've potentially missed out on a spot. We've missed out on arguably one of the. I mean, it could still happen somewhat, maybe, but like we've missed out on probably the most hyped heavyweight fight in UFC history with Francis and John, and that's because, you know, like Francis at a point like was getting to that star, like that real star level, like knocking people out left, right, and center, kind of like Mike Tyson-esque.
Yeah.
And I just sort of thought to myself, you know, like if somebody wants to push back on the UFC, if somebody has the chance to be at, like showcases this big star that can be as big as the UFC, whilst in the past it was embraced, I don't know if it's embraced anymore, which is why I feel that Conor isn't, the Conor and Chandler fight hasn't been locked in. This has been 2 years in the making. Like there's something more going on here than just, oh yeah, you know, Conor's not fighting. Dana's like, oh yeah, you know, like, oh he's fighting in fall. Oh, Conor's got heaps of money. Like the guy, I think he actually wants to fight, but I think there is more to it.
Absolutely, it has to be, right? I think Ariel made a point, like all these other guys, like LeBron, Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's retired, but all these top level athletes, they're all millionaires, have endless amounts of money, but they still perform every week. They still come out and train and play. So I definitely think Conor still wants to fight. I think there's just a bit. I think there has to be some politics going on. Like it can't be as simple as Conor not wanting to fight. Yeah.
Oh,
I think Francis and John. It's probably going to be. I reckon that's going to be the biggest fight we never get to see. I think that's bigger than Tony and Khabib. That's bigger than Brock and Fedor. I think that's probably going to be the biggest fight we never get to see because I think Dana's probably a bit too stubborn to bring Francis back now.
Yeah.
So
because I think like with Francis and John, you know, like John is probably the consensus greatest fighter in the of all time.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he has star power because of the way he is and what he's done, and he's just got that, you know, that he's got that different personality. So he's got that star power there. And Francis has the star power. So the two of them combined makes for one hell of a pay-per-view. That could do 3 million plus, especially these days.
Especially if Francis somehow beats AJ, like that's skyrockets him.
But the thing that really annoyed me throughout the week, which is why I wanted to talk about it, mate, is just like it's come out, you know, pretty well saying that I don't know if I forget who the other guy was, Ryan Bader. Who did Ryan Bader fight on the weekend at the
some big Brazilian. I couldn't get his name.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But Francis came out and said, I'm fighting the winner at some point for the heavyweight title in the PFL. And I thought to myself, this is wrong. Like Francis should be on the grandest stage of them all against the greatest fighter in the history of the universe. This should be the fight, and it just really pissed me off. And I just thought that and the Conor thing and UFC 300 getting announced with AP and Jamal Hill. I just thought, come on, Dana, like please, like don't let your ego get the better of you here. Like
I think I don't know. I don't necessarily believe it's Dana, because Dana got these stuff done in the past. Obviously, the Francis stuff was like he's kind of responsible for that. But I think there's more players now. There's more chefs at the UFC. There's people higher than him, like in the TKO group. So I think it's purely about the bottom line, and that it's probably worth putting on more bigger events rather than one big event. So yeah, I don't think Dana's the shot caller, the final shot caller anymore.
But do you want to know something, mate? The UFC's nothing without the fans.
Yeah, mate, that's it.
And you know what the fans want? I don't care what they say. They want a Conor McGregor super fight, like a card.
Yeah.
They want Francis versus John. They're like, and you know what? When we're forking out a shitload of money for tickets. And we're forking out like a shitload week to week. Like we're buying into the sport. We're buying into the sport. I'm buying pay-per-views weekly. I'm commenting on things. I'm making podcasts about the UFC. I love this shit. I deserve the big fights. I do. I deserve the big fights. But I do. I deserve it. And Dana, if you're listening, I deserve this shit. Right? So I just think like I just think the fans are the ones that suffer. And I think it sucks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we haven't had a super fight, big super fight in a long time since Conor and Khabib. Like nothing on that level. But I don't think there's much other than Conor or maybe Francis. There's no one else out there that can bring that. So yeah, I think the UFC is the show. We tune in to watch the UFC, where regardless of who is fighting, we will always watch it.
That is true.
So I think that's what their goal is, and I think that's what they're getting.
My question to you before we wrap up, mate, is do we see something of a Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov magnitude ever again in the UFC?
I don't think within the next 5 years. I don't think so.
Do you think that's past?
Yeah, I don't think there's nobody. I don't think the UFC want to build stars like that. They become too big. Since how many times did Khabib fight after Conor? How many times has Conor fought after Khabib? Like once or twice each?
Not many.
Yeah.
Khabib fought twice. Conor fought 3 times.
Yeah.
DP twice and Cowboy once.
Yeah. So like and that's how long ago was that? So I don't think
2018.
I don't think they want too big stars like that, because if they when you got boatloads of money, you don't want to be taking shots to the head. You don't need to. So if they keep them down, keep them needing to fight, they're going to keep fighting.
That is spot on, mate. But you know what? The fans suffer.
Yeah.
It's all about the fans. And I want the big fights, baby. So give it to me, Dana. Give it to me.
Come on,
but
Dana.
Mate. That's another one for the books, mate. As John Anik will say, another one for the books.
Bit delayed, but we got there. We finally got it done.
We got there, episode 5, done, dusted, in the books.
Easy work, or not?
As always.
Thank you.
As always, it was a fun time, mate.
Pleasure.
It's always a fun time having a chat about the UFC. But, mate, we'll be back. We'll be back sooner rather than we were last time. Yeah. But we're back with some more great UFC content. Hopefully throughout the week, we get charged up and ready for UFC 299. Some things like fall into place.
Yeah.
Because that's like only a couple of weeks away, which is pretty exciting. It's one of the most stacked cards. You could probably argue it's more stacked than UFC 298. Obviously, we're not going to have the emotional investment, but
it's going to be exciting.
It's probably more stacked from top to bottom.
No more shaking during fights for a few months
Thank
at least.
God for that. Yeah. Because I'm sick of buying beers prior to the fights.
Thank you.
Anyways, casuals, appreciate the tuning in. Kenny, as always, mate, appreciate it. Until next time.
Enjoy.
We'll catch you later.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.